Now, today we're canceling, not for the first time, probably not the last, Cosmopolitan magazine. In fairness, they could be canceled for literally everything that's ever been printed in the pages of their godforsaken publication. But this month's issue, I think, warrants a special mention. On the cover is featured an obese woman smiling proudly with the words, "This is healthy," printed across. Now, I want you to notice this, how the body positivity movement has slid inexorably down the predictable slippery slope. Because 5 years ago, this cover would have looked similar and had a similar message, but instead it would have said something like, "This is beautiful." Now, it was wrong to call obesity beautiful, but at least you could argue, wrongly in my view, but at least plausibly, that beauty is subjective. And so, you can call anything beautiful. And the benefit for those promoting the message 5 years ago was that most people were too afraid to object, thinking that if they argue that obesity isn't beautiful, it would be the same as saying that all fat people are ugly. Of course, it's not the same. It is possible to make the case that obesity isn't beautiful, which it isn't, without calling all fat people ugly, in the same way that you can make the case that alcoholism isn't beautiful, which it isn't, without calling all alcoholics ugly. It's not the same thing. Saying alcoholism isn't beautiful is not the same thing as saying you're ugly because you're an alcoholic. Two different things. But we've graduated beyond potentially subjective words like beautiful, and now we're being told that obesity is actually healthy. And this is the way it always goes. This is always the trajectory. The slippery slope is real, and we're on about 1,000 different ones in this culture. So we start by, the left starts by demanding that you accept a false but relatively innocuous or seemingly well-intentioned premise like obesity is beautiful. And once your mind has been properly conditioned, they move to the radical and dangerous conclusion that was always embedded in the original premise, which now is obesity is healthy. So let's read a little bit from this Cosmo article. It says influencer Callie Thorpe is one of social media's best-known advocates of self-love. In 2016, she launched the community page called the Confidence Corner on Instagram to spread positivity to her 250,000 followers. But it really all started with a diet blog in 2012. Quote, "I thought if I made myself accountable to strangers, I'd lose weight. It made me feel worse than ever." She adds, "I had a really terrible relationship with my body growing up. I always struggled with the fact that it was different to my friends. I tried every single diet." By the way, sidebar here. Most of the time when people say they tried every diet, the problem is precisely that they're just trying the diet. They do it for a few days or a few weeks and they quit. They're dipping their toes into different diet fads, but they give up as soon as it becomes difficult. The fact is that almost everyone who says they've tried really hard to lose weight but haven't been able to, in almost all cases, they actually haven't tried hard at all. They may have tried momentarily, but not long enough and not consistent enough. That's a simple reality. The idea that it somehow doesn't work to eat healthy, that lots of people would still be morbidly obese even after radically altering their diet and lifestyle to make it more healthy, is just absurd. But getting back to the article, it says, these days, Callie adheres to the body neutrality movement, which focuses on what your body can do rather than how it looks. Plus-size people often feel like they can't be part of the wellness space. We're trolled for being fat. Then can feel excluded from exercise because our bodies don't fit the narrative. First of all, you're not being nobody can be excluded from exercise. If you want to just lay down on your carpet and do some crunches. You can't be excluded from doing that. But that's one excuse to not exercise, I guess. I was going to go jogging today, but they excluded me. I got excluded from jogging. I can't. And from there, the article goes on to chronicle the stories of various other women, some of whom are in fine shape, others who are also morbidly obese. The message is that they've all learned to love their bodies and that all of their body types are healthy. Not surprisingly, no attempt is made to scientifically or logically defend the proposition that obesity is healthy. It's merely asserted with an exclamation point, and we're meant to accept it at face value. The only defense is, as always, an emotional one. The argument seems to be that obesity is healthy because it makes fat people feel bad when you say obesity is not healthy. This is similar to the argument that a man is a woman because it makes him feel bad when you say he's not a woman. The irony is that the phrase body acceptance is used in this article, referring to a woman named Jessamine Stanley, also obese. It says, quote, "The journey to body acceptance is something that has taken her a long time," that being Jessamine. Quote, "Body shaming was one of the first things I learned to do. I grew up in a community where all of my physical attributes, wide nose, big belly, big ass, big lips, dark skin, were deemed ugly." Now, first of all, these things are not all the same, okay? One of these things is not like the others, right? The size of your nose, your lips, so the color of your skin, these cannot be naturally changed, and they shouldn't be unnaturally changed either, in my opinion. But the size of your belly can be changed. And given that an overly bulbous belly is hazardous to your physical well-being, you should change it. Just because there are some things about yourself that you should proudly embrace, like your skin color, your nose size, that doesn't mean that all things about you should be proudly embraced. But going back to the body acceptance phrase, it strikes me that this is exactly what the body acceptance movement is not doing. Body acceptance is what they are opposing, not what they're promoting. You haven't accepted something if you refuse to acknowledge the full reality of it. An addict hasn't reached the stage of acceptance if he's still claiming that he doesn't have a problem. You aren't accepting your obese body if you're insisting that it's healthy and wonderful. That's denial, not acceptance. It's the opposite. Yes, obese people should accept that they are obese, and then they should work to change it, because it could very likely kill them if they don't. That's what acceptance looks like. And this obesity is healthy stuff takes on an even more sinister tone when you consider the timing. COVID is still surging out there, and it's well known that the obese are especially vulnerable to it. So you're already more likely to die of heart disease and dozens of other complications due to obesity, and COVID adds just yet another danger on top of that. Cosmo wants you to embrace that danger. Cosmo wants you to be a martyr for body acceptance. It wants you to love your obesity so much that you allow it to kill you. And that's insane. And for that, Cosmo is canceled. Well, I hope you enjoyed that clip from the Matt Walsh Show. If you did, go ahead and hit that subscribe button right down there so you can stay up to date on all of our future content.